Alright, hello everybody. Today we're doing a ride on this 2003 Suzuki DR-400. We're in Shediac Bridge, New Brunswick, and this is just a ride along some of the back roads and fire trails and stuff. There's also some footage of my son sort of dropping his CRF-50 that you see parked beside me. Notice the rear reflector missing. Anyway, it was kind of a chilly, gray morning. What else is new? Yeah, so these are carbureted bikes. I think they're getting pretty old now, but they're not a lot different now than they were back in 2003. They're liquid-cooled engine. I think stock it's probably about 35 horsepower, maybe a little less than that, but it's a nice all-around bike. I enjoy it, and I like it especially out here in Shediac Bridge. You'll see it's even when you're driving sort of just the normal back roads, a lot of them are dirt roads, so it's kind of nice to have a all-arounder for that kind of thing. With the knobby tires, it certainly doesn't handle like a sport bike. You have to be careful around corners that you don't wash out. Again, the roads are really dirty. There's a lot of sand everywhere. Drives nice. It feels tall, even though I'm a tall guy. I can still nearly flat foot this. I'm 6'2", and this bike is essentially, I think it's almost not, it might even be 100% stock. When I got it, it didn't have any kilometers on it. It's a funny story. The guy I bought it from had only had it for, I think, 2 years, and he wanted to get an ATV or something to ride the trails with his friends. And it's an American bike. It was in a garage in Maine. The owner had died. He bought it brand new in 2003, and I think died in 2004. And there were, I think, maybe 1,000 miles on it when I picked it up. And I've put, I can't read the odometer there. I've put a few, certainly maybe another 1,000 on there. But never mind me just driving along with my blinker on. But it was basically a brand new 2003 bike when I got it. The guy had only driven it a couple times. I see a lot of videos of people doing wheelies and stunts on them, especially on the Supermoto version. I really don't find it has very much power at all. It's a pretty tame bike. It's kind of a maybe, I don't want to say jack of all trades, but it's geared a little bit tall for tight trail riding, like for single track. You certainly can do it on this. You just have to ride your clutch a little bit. I think that's mostly what I do on this bike, actually, or have done. It's great for fire roads and double track, dirt roads, just sort of rough terrain. It's a super bike. It feels, again, I've got the TTR 225 as well, and this feels similarly tank-like. I have dropped it in the mud a couple of times. I've never really beat it up. It's always sort of that low speed, put your foot down and your foot slides out from under you kind of drop. It's also a little bit taller than what I'm used to, and people who ride dirt bikes a lot would probably laugh at me for saying that. But the suspension's quite stiff, and the bike is a little bit tall, so when when you're on a hill and you try to put your foot down, it's very easy to kind of forget that you're on an incline and drop the bike in the grass. I don't take on a lot of real challenging terrain just because I'm always riding alone, and I'm worried that I'll hurt myself out in the woods or something and not have any cell phone signal, so I mostly stick to fire roads and some single track around home. They're building a new highway here in Shediac. They spent, I don't know, I think it was over $1 billion to twin the highway between Shediac and Miramichi. And I've driven that highway a lot of times, and it's always nice to have. I'd have put up moose fence in some areas maybe, but it's nice to have a twin highway. But I don't know that it's a necessity when all the rest of your roads look like this. My dad used to say if you counted, if I gave you a loonie, like a dollar bill, I guess if you're an American, every second, to give you $1 billion would take 31 years. Just to put that in perspective. I could cross the highway and ride off-road to get to here, but with the dual sport bike, I don't bother with that stuff, mostly just because I don't like crossing the highway. I've been doing a lot of riding this week with Jack on his 50cc CRF. He might even be a little bit big for it, but he's getting just starting to get to that point where he's quite daring, and I don't want to put him on a bigger bike yet. We have a Honda XR80, I think it's 1978 or 79, that I just did replace the upper on, and it's a good bike. It has less power than his 50cc, but his doesn't. I guess it's sort of an automatic. You change the gears, but it doesn't have a clutch. It's some kind of clutchless sequential gearbox, and it only has 3 gears. So teaching him on the 80 would be. I'd like to get him used to changing gears and running through 5 speeds. All these roads on the left, I'm dying to kind of explore them. I think I did a couple of years ago. And something tells me a few of them go quite a ways and some of them don't go anywhere. Just driving out towards the Club Chasse Pêche, which is hunting and fishing club. And I used to be a member there, but there's never anyone there. I don't know if it's closed or if it's just that there's no one there. I never got to renew my membership. I'm dying to go fishing. I was really disappointed when we, you can see it's pretty gray here in this video, and we left a little later in the day. This was early morning. And by the time we left, it was raining. I was in a pretty foul mood anyway. Just about Canadian government stuff. So it might not have been a great day fishing, but usually, so like my pastimes to relax, fishing, shooting clays, and riding motorcycles. I think I gotta remember to get down on a knee once in a while, you know what I mean? Because I'm starting to get a little bit cranky, maybe a bit depressed. You'd never guess from my charismatic voice. These videos are like monotone speaking. This is a beautiful back road. The Shediac River runs right along past where we just drove. We crossed it on one of those covered bridges. The DR-Z, a little bit more about it. Yeah, a little bit tall geared for single track and not quite enough gears for riding on the highway. I'm sure it can do it. I have done it. I used to ride it to work quite a bit. And it'll go 110 kilometers an hour. It'll keep up with traffic, whatever that is, 70 miles an hour. But it feels like you're, not so much that the engine's going to let go, but the amount of vibration is unsettling when you're going that fast. Now, it could be that I have it on knobby tires. They're DOT approved, but I think they found a loophole and got these ones DOT approved. I got it mostly to have a dirt bike where I could just drive the bike to the trails. I didn't like I'll load Jack's bike in the back of the truck and take it places, but this one's a heavy bike. I really don't like loading and unloading. I'm not good with ratchet straps. I'm not good at man stuff. I don't know. That sounds weird to say it that way, but ratchet straps, DIY projects. I'm terrible, universally terrible at all of them. I think I was talking one day about technical abilities and how I think I've filled up that part of my brain with the procedures I do at work, and so there's no room left to learn how to frame a storage shed or degunk a carburetor. I just can't. Even though it's on YouTube and I could just follow it step by step, I'd drop the washers. I'd make a mess. You might have seen in the shed we also have a Yamaha TTR 225, And the bike is, oh man, it's one of my favorite dirt bikes. It is my favorite dirt bike I've ever owned. It goes everywhere. It doesn't have too much power, so it's not overwhelming. For the type of riding we do, I mean, my brother comes from Australia once a year, or he did before the pandemic anyway, and we would ride. I think I actually took him down here, even though, he kind of had to ride on the roads. And he rode the TTR 225, but that thing will go through mud and go up any hill you point it at. It's like a little mountain goat. And it belonged to a lady when I first got it. I was going in to just get my membership renewed, and I stopped the video here and then realized they were closed. So I'm a fool. I see that I'm not sure this is recording. It says it's recording. Not sure what's going on. Maybe too much wind noise. I'm going to bring the levels down just a little bit more. Something's going weird here. Oh, here we go. So it looks like that's going to work. I'm just going to stop and check. So what happened was that I had two separate clips and hadn't brought down the center volume on the second clip. So it looked like it was clipping and super loud, but it was just my own stupidity. So this is the Fire Road, and I saw some Remax signs. I don't know how much of this land is for sale. They've obviously been using it as a woodlot, and they've just cleared it. There are a lot of these in New Brunswick, and the roads they're so fun to explore. This one goes on quite a ways, actually, and I think I knew this one was here. I've been here with Jack on the bike. It's a little bit challenging. The stuff I'm driving on right now is really rocky, and you kind of have to let your arms almost go a little bit loose and just let the bike decide where it wants to go without fighting it. If you fight it, it wants to wash out. I'm also doing a lot of standing on the pegs, which I don't know if that's still the way people ride this stuff anymore, because I'm so slow, right? This is first gear, look, 15 miles an hour. But I just, my ass can only take so much punishment. That sounds super kinky and weird. You know what I mean, from the seat beating me up a bit. The camera, I think it's because I'm standing, seems to be pointing down a little bit. That's not what I intended the view to be, but it is kind of nice being able to see the cockpit of the bike. I have noticed in my prior videos that you don't see the speedometer, the tank, the bars, as well as maybe I'd like to see. It's kind of fun when you're looking at a bike you don't have that you're interested in, to see what it gives you a bit more of the experience, I suppose. Anyway, the guy who owned this, so the first guy died. The second guy just kept it in his garage and rode it around as a street bike a little bit. When I picked it up, it had completely bald tires and whatnot. And Dad was still alive, and he could not believe the deal I got on it. He was so stoked about this bike. I don't think he ever rode it, though, because he was worried it would tip over. He was a tall guy as well. He was 6'3". He was taller than me. But once you're on chemotherapy and you're taking steroids and stuff, your leg muscles just aren't... they atrophy really fast, I guess. He found it hard to, walk to the store after a couple of months. It was sad to see, because he was such a strong dude, tough guy. He was always the alpha dog. Whenever he'd walk anywhere, he had to walk in front of everybody. This is a cool area up here. I'm surprised how much clear cutting they've done. When I was there in the fall or late summer, that was the last time I was up here. This was all wooded in. You couldn't see. There was no view. The trees were still there, so they've obviously done quite a bit. I looked at a woodlot down the road from this before. Well, if you're Canadian, you'll know all our taxes changed, and most specialist physicians like me are fee-for-service, so you only get paid for what you do, but you also have a you run your business like a veterinarian would, right? And even though it's a single payer system, you can pay your staff and stuff out of that income, so it's more tax efficient, or it used to be. But then they got it in their mind. I don't want to talk too much politics or finances, but they did get it in their mind that small businesses were getting away with something. So they did change the rules, and it kind of threw our retirement plans into oblivion, I guess you could say. This road just seemed to end here. It was too bad. It looked like it would have been fun going on. I think I get off the bike here just to do a little walk around and like show you the scenery and stuff. One thing that somebody had taught me, I don't remember when, but they said don't ever leave your bike, don't turn your bike off if you're in the woods, because you never know if you're going to get it on again. Now I stall all the time, especially when I'm on tough trails, and this thing starts every time. It's been really good. But I always took that advice to heart, so I just leave it running in general. It's kind of a shame you can't quite really make out the hills and the landscape on the GoPro, but this goes back, like those clear-cut trees go back forever. It seems like there's maybe thousands of acres of it. I don't know if I mentioned, this is all filmed on a GoPro Hero 2. I've ordered a Hero 8 Black. I guess they're maybe not, the 2 is pretty robust. The 8 is less so. But the video and the stabilization are supposed to be awesome. I can also start doing 4K videos, especially when I do this stuff. I think with the just sort of vlog style videos where I just talk about the weigh-ins and stuff, we'll just keep it 1080 because it's faster to upload and faster to put together. Nobody really cares. You're just kind of checking in, right? But with these bike videos, you know how when 1080 came out and you were still watching videos in 360 and suddenly it seemed ancient? I do kind of feel that way about watching 1080p content for whatever reason. Now, it may just be the compression algorithm for the Hero 2 is getting pretty old. I mean, I think I got this camera. My dad got it for me 2013, I think. That's how old it is. Which isn't that old. It's 6 years old, but the video's definitely improved since then. Anyway, we'll see what the 8 looks like. I suppose, like every time we do a video, I should talk about fitness and weight and stuff. My weight, last weigh-in, I think we've talked... Oh no, the video didn't record for whatever reason. It was 247.6, I think. And I was doing okay. We were up in Shediac with my mom, and she loves to bake, and she always has these chocolate chip cookies, and I can't seem to help myself. Especially when I'm depressed. I just tend to eat too much. And we just had, Chrissy just made a really lovely pasta dinner. We were going to get sushi tonight, but she called in at like 5 o'clock, and they said, it'll be 8 o'clock before it's ready. I guess a lot of people are having the same thought. I wasn't going to get sushi during the pandemic because I was thinking it wasn't cooked, but we haven't had any new cases in New Brunswick for 13 days, so I said now's the time, before they open the borders, to fill up on sushi. So I thought I'd go off this little fire road here, this little logging road, just to see how far it went. This wasn't there the last time I was there, or it was short. You could see the end of it, and it just seems to go on here. The ground is mucky. It's not like slippy mud necessarily, but it's kind of this mix of mud and sand, and you do feel your back tire sliding out quite a bit, even though it's got the knobbies on it. Part of that may be that I've got too much air pressure in the tire. So for like a road bike, typically you'd run like 32 psi, and for an off-road bike you might run like 18 psi. So I kind of split the difference here. I run it at like 27 psi. And it might be a little stiff for this stuff, but I don't want to run it too stiff, or I'm worried I'll get a blowout, but not stiff enough. Oh yeah, I did get some air off a little bump there. Not stiff enough, and I'm worried I won't have any traction. what am I trying to say? Oh, I'm worried I'll bend a rim is the reason I don't run them real low. I'm a heavy guy, obviously. Oh yeah, it just kind of ends there. These guys were really nice. I was up here at the end of the summer last year, and I saw the guys working in the woods with chainsaws, and I just asked, like, do you mind me biking here? And they said, oh no, anytime. It was cool. You never know, right? There's some places marked private property. I just assume when you see these roads, if they're not closed and they're not marked private property, that people don't mind. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. If I had this much land, I would set up a clay pigeon thrower, and I would shoot clay pigeons out here all the time. Which I guess makes sense because gun range is right next door, but they don't have a shotgun range. Yeah, so when you're getting this sort of view of the road and the is that called switchgear? I don't know what that's called, but that view means I'm standing up because I have to kind of bend at the middle and my chest points down a bit. One mod I did on this bike, I did put wider foot pegs on it because I do tend to stand on my foot pegs a lot, and I have Morton's neuroma in my right foot, and I found that even in motorcycle boots, like I've got off-road boots, even wearing those stiff boots, it really hurt my feet after even like 1 or 2 minutes of standing on the pegs. Well, this is fun. I was getting a little bit of speed here, I guess. I might even be in second gear. Hard to know. Hard to know, Mr. King. I had a kind of a rotten day after today. I get too involved with politics, and I was kind of fuming a bit. In Canada, we have a pretty tight system of gun control that seems to work pretty well. People slip through the cracks, obviously, same as everywhere. But the Prime Minister just came out without going through Parliament and essentially just banned a whole bunch of guns that a lot of my friends use in their shooting competitions. I think it's ridiculous. But you don't have to agree with me on that. I mean, we're here to talk about bikes and my fatness. You don't have to agree about guns. I hope you enjoy the video either way, whichever side of the argument you fall on. Just make sure you fall on the right side. It's more important to be right than to be... no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Still some snow on the ground here. It's crazy, it's May 1st. But when you get in the woods, you do get that snow. Now, one thing I don't like about all the clear cutting is that it means the snow melts faster, right? The tree cover sort of keeps snow on the ground. It's generally how it works. And in New Brunswick, every spring, up until this spring, we've had a lot of flooding. The Kennebecasis River overflows, people lose their houses, turns into a disaster area every year. And thank God this year was the exception. But it's just one of those things. They've been clear cutting a lot in the north of the province, and that's where the snow pack needs to sort of stay until this time of year, until May. And the last couple of years, you get a little bit of rain and fog, and the whole thing melts all at the same time, and then the river floods. This is a funny. It's a funny bike. I used to have an XT350. I've talked about my prior bikes before. I started with the XR80, and my first road legal bike was a Yamaha XT350 1987. It was the red and white one. It was a good bike. It was kind of like the TTR 225, just go anywhere. Man, I loved that bike. But I did... well, I had dropped it a few times, and I had a couple near calls with it, almost always locking up the brakes on knobby tires, especially if the road was slick or wet. And so I'm just really quite paranoid about riding a bike with knobby tires on the road. I drive real slow. try to let the brakes give them lots of time to do their job. See, I was going to creep this stop sign. Watch, there's a truck coming. You don't get really a sense of, like I was slowing down. It wasn't an emergency stop, but you don't get a sense of the abruptness of the stop on the GoPro. I think it's just because of the wide angle. This is the Shediac River on the left there that you can catch between the trees. Some really nice houses up here. I'm guessing these people live here year round. There are some cottages along the river though. That house is sided in insulation. There's the Shediac River, and we're going to cross the bridge here. For some reason, I think I had to scoot across the bridge quickly on this go. Yeah, this wasn't much of a story time. I didn't really have any clever proverbs. I don't know what the word is. I want to say allegories. That's not it. If you know the word I'm thinking of, put it in the comment section below. That's one thing I should ask. If you guys like these videos, even though some of them are just about weight loss, some of them are rides. I'll do rides whenever I can, because I'm stoked about the new GoPro 2, with the GoPro 8. If you like these, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button. If you don't like them, tell me what you'd like to see different, and I'll change it up. I don't know that I'm really going to change the sound right away. First of all, I don't have any money to spend on a new microphone setup. And secondly, the GoPro Hero 8, the mic setup is really bizarre. You have to get this adapter, or you can get this media bundle, but it doesn't really work. It sounds like crap. I don't know. I would have gotten the 7, but you still need the adapter for the 7. One thing I never get used to is going from a bike with auto-canceling turn signals to a bike with canceling, where you have to cancel the turn signals. A whopping 46 miles an hour. 47. Wow. I find that is one thing with the ZRX1100. The turn signals, you have to cancel them. The other thing with it, and I'm stupid for not noticing it. Have you noticed on the ZRX1100, I don't know if you've seen the other videos, the tail light looks white? It actually has integrated turn signals in it, and that's an aftermarket thing. The tail light should look red. The white ones are so cheesy. They remind me of those 90s, like, is it racist to say rice rocket? Like those, kind of like an Acura Integra, where they change out the signals to white signals. I don't mean that in a racist way. That's just what we call them. But so they've taken off the turn signals, and they have this integrated cheesy turn signal on the ZRX, and I don't like it. I'm worried that people won't know which signal is going. It's just, I'd rather have the turn signal stocks. I'm not sure. Would you guys redo it? Would you put normal turn signals on it? I don't know. I don't know the answer. So I'm just going to fill up this bike with gas, and then I'll say goodbye. The end is some footage of Jack on his CRF 50. It's footage of his big crash. I don't know if it counts as a crash. He didn't even have the engine on. He explained it later and said that he thought he had the front brake on his bicycle, and he kept grabbing for something that wasn't there, and just gradually fell over. But he hurt his elbow a little bit, just scraped it up. He kept riding. We went for a couple more rides later that day, and then the next day. He's a good kid. He's tougher than his dad. So good talking to you guys. Enjoyed the rest of the video. Enjoy my 7-year-old swearing on YouTube. Sorry. See ya.
I did a jump way back there.
A jump? You be careful.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
I just ran into a big pothole.
We're just up for a couple days. I'm off.
Oh, shit. Fuck.
Two came right out.